it's not so much another person that we fall in love with. It's more the emotions, how we feel about ourselves in the presence of that other person. So when we meet somebody of the opposite sex, or somebody that we're sexually attracted to, or have an interest in having an intimate relationship with, be it a friendship or a partnership, then what it is that we get from that person, what it is that pull that makes us want to be around that person, is not so much your interest in that other person as it is your enjoyment of how you feel about yourself when that other person is present. And I can think back to my relationships of, falling in love with my husband. And in the beginning, and even just listening to my friends talk about their relationships, or seeing, past relationships through my life, just really looking at these relationships and how, like, in the beginning, we have, like, our blinders on to how amazing that other person is. We see somebody, we see a little spark, we see a little energy, they're fun, they make you feel comfortable, you can kind of relax around them, they make you feel good, they pay you compliments, they're genuinely interested in you. And then that is kind of all that you see, because that's your first impression of the person. Because when you first meet somebody, you don't have 10, 25, 30, 40 years of them saying, I love you, and then treating you differently when you didn't behave to their acquaintances. This is a brand new relationship, so you don't have all that past baggage. So you just have this really positive opinion of somebody, and this really positive impression of somebody. And that is, your mind will take that and put on its filter, and that's all it'll look for. So you might overlook some negative things about the person. That might not pick up on your radar. You might not notice how they comment or they say something negative about somebody else. You might not notice how, or you may even realize it, but just not even hold on to it. You'll just let it go. It wasn't about you. It didn't affect you. It wasn't, that's their business. I know that was a number one thing that I could rationalize in my relationships. Well, that's their business. If they want to do that, that's their business. That's their karma. That's it has nothing to do with me. So I'm just not going to worry about that part of it. And I would put on this filter and just see all the good stuff, and maybe not notice some of the red flags that would be popping up on what might become a problem later on down the road. It was, I like this right now, so I'm going to look for all the reasons that this is right so that I can fit this into my life and feel this feel-good feeling as much as possible. And then later on down the road, as things go on, maybe even other people point out things. An example that I've used before is, somebody not having a job in a partnership. Well, that's okay, he's so talented and he's so smart, and it's just been for a couple weeks, and I know that he'll get another job, so it's not a big deal. I'm making enough money, I can cover both the expenses. Well, 6 months down the road, that person still doesn't have a job. And during that 6 months, they've also displayed other behaviors that aren't really to your preferences. So now your mind's like, well, maybe there's something here. As soon as that behavior is shown that's not to your preference, your mind will pick it up as a threat to survival. Now that might seem a little extreme, but really that's how the mind works. The mind, it's there to keep you alive. It's there to detect dangers and to predict possible outcomes so that you can make a decision that will ensure your survival. So you say, there's been a couple things that kind of pop up in your mind's like, okay, well, maybe this person isn't so perfect. Maybe this person isn't so ideal as my mind had told me up until this point. So you see this one little thing, you're like, gosh, they said or did something that just makes you feel kind of uneasy inside, or makes you feel sad, or hurts your feelings. Well, then your mind starts seeking out for more evidence of how this has happened. So your filter kind of switches from everything that's good about the person to everything that's a possible threat that the person does. Now, does the good stuff go away? No. Most often the good stuff does not actually go away. You just start to filter that out because now you're slipping into survival mode. And sometimes that slip into survival mode will be caused by getting attached to the other person. At first, you really like the way that they make you feel. You can be yourself, you're open, you're honest, you're fun, you're goofy, you're doing all the things that just you would do, because new into a relationship, there's not a lot to lose. I don't have a partner right now, so I might as well do whatever comes to me to do and just be myself in this relationship. And in doing that, if they don't accept me, it's okay, because in the beginning I was by myself anyway. Well, once you get that affection returned, and once you start to get those feel-good feelings, and you get that validation, and you get into it, and then all of a sudden you find yourself like, whoa, I'm really attached to this person. I like the way this person makes me feel. I better not do anything to lose them. I better not do anything to behave outside of their preferences so that they won't fall out of love with me, so that they won't leave me behind. Once you have that attachment, then things start to change. When you form that attachment, when you kind of fool yourself into thinking, if they leave my life, I will be without something. I will lose something. Then I know for myself, I started making choices in my relationship to cater to the other person's preferences. So then I started weighing out things, and I would say, okay, and vice versa. Not only would I change my behaviors to cater to the other person, but then I would allow the other person to get away with behaviors that normally I wouldn't allow, but then I'd weigh them out. Would I rather deal with this and have this person in my life, or would I rather not deal with this and be without them? I know very clearly that I've done this in a lot of my relationships. And a lot of times, because I'm a very strong person, I'm a very independent person, I'm a pretty tough gal, and I can carry a load. So I would say to myself, okay, this area I'd rather deal with this behavior and be with the person than not deal with this behavior and be without the person. So I'd start making compromises on what I would really prefer. And along with that, I would also start making different choices in what I would choose to do, where I wanted to go eat, what I wanted to have for dinner, how I'd like to fix my hair. You know, I'd start to do these little things looking for that other person's approval. Now, all of this is subconscious. All of this happened on a subconscious level. It was only being out of it and turning back and looking in on it that I would see these things. So I would encourage you to kind of take an inventory of your relationships. And probably just through hearing these examples that I'm giving, you're probably getting little things that pop up in your mind like, gosh, I do that same thing. Now, there is nothing wrong with looking to make your partner happy. In fact, that's the number one way to have a good relationship, is to focus on making the other person happy. It does kind of get a little messy when you make the other person happy at the expense of your own happiness. So once we get that attachment, once I would make that attachment and I would have that fear of losing something, that I would do what I felt like I needed to do subconsciously to keep the other person's attention. So if I had something that I was really excited about and I would go over to share it, and the person wouldn't give back the same excitement, or they gave back a negative opinion or a negative perspective, or kind of bust my bubble, then I'd be like, okay, well, this subject I'm not going to take to this person anymore, because when I took it to him last time, he didn't react the way that I wanted him to, and opposed to me having to go through those sad feelings again, I just will keep it from him. So I build a little wall. And then there's something else. Maybe they don't like the dinner that I made. Maybe it just wasn't to their preference on how it tastes, and instead of me recognizing that just a little salt and pepper could have made a difference, I would take it personal and be like, okay, mental note, never make this dinner again. There's another little part of me that I'm taking back away, just trying to protect myself. Then I realized too, if I'm doing this in the relationship, what are the odds that the other person's doing it too? And to me, that's what ends up happening over 5 years, 9 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road. If you're both sitting there building up these walls of protection and holding back little parts of you that you feel the other person doesn't approve of, then you can wake up one day and be living with a total stranger and think, oh, I'm not in love with this person anymore. This person has changed. They're not the happy, feel-good person that they were when I first met them. Now they're miserable and angry and never approve of me and always thinks that I do everything wrong and is always criticizing me. Chances are that amazing person that you fell in love with is still there. Your mind's just filtered that out because you've been so busy stacking up these walls around you that and looking for the threats and the dangers, that your mind has kind of shut off all of those little times that person's paying you a compliment, because it's not a threat for you, it goes right under the radar. Because it's how one should behave, you don't give them recognition. When I started realizing how much this was happening in my own relationship at home, I started making little changes and started seeking out, okay, if all I'm seeing is this negative side, but I know that there's the other good side too. So how about I just tell my mind to start seeking out those good things? All the times that he makes a positive comment, all the times that he makes a positive suggestion, all the times that he does something that one, in my mind, should do if they love another person. Instead of just letting those things just slide into the relationship without being noticed, I'm going to start seeking them out, and I'm going to start recognizing them, and I'm going to start praising them and pointing them out. Because if I can point them out to myself, then maybe I can switch that filter again and start to find all those good things instead of just looking for the bad things. And in doing that, I can also become the person in this relationship that I am in these new relationships that don't have all this history of heartache.